Hi, I'm here with the assistant to the general manager and the director of scouting of the Portland Winterhawks, Mike Coflin. Mike, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great, Zach. Good to be with you.
It's great to have you here. I love the background. Obviously, you're a little more tech savvy than some of our other guys, including myself.
No, at least it makes me feel like I'm a little bit closer to Portland with the borders closed, but it's the best we can do right now. So,
Well, speaking of that, as you guys prepared for the draft, we obviously weren't all together in Red Deer like we usually are. How did the Portland Winterhawks go about getting ready for this year's draft, building your list, and making sure everybody was on the same page?
I think probably common experiences with the other clubs. From what I've heard, you're losing the benefit of the provincial camps, the U16s, where you sit down with your area guys in each province and talk in depth about the players and their backgrounds. So obviously we had to adjust. We had to do that in chunks and do it in a series of calls, and got better and better at Zoom calls as we went along. But at the end of the day, I think what we learned is how much we rely on the work done in season by our head scouts in each area and our area guys. That their work, really, we leaned on that a lot, their knowledge, and we trusted them that they knew the player, the families, and the situation very well.
Well, speaking of that, we obviously didn't have the three provincial branch camps that we normally have, but you're still able, with your first pick of the second round, as you didn't have a first round pick up a very, very talented player in Jaden Perron. So what about his game really caught your guys' eye in the viewings that you're able to get of him?
Yeah, we think Jaden's an elite player with a ton of potential. He thinks the game very well. He sees the ice. He distributes the puck. He really seems to know where everybody is. All players in the offensive zone. He kind of comes alive. A little bit of electric personality on the ice, and we think he kind of fits our game, where we want to play a little bit up tempo, really rely on people's hockey sense, and we're hoping for a best case scenario. Jaden might still be there for us, and when he was, we were thrilled to select him.
Speaking of those, having guys come in and be a part of that Portland culture, obviously very dominant team throughout the past 10 years, winning multiple WHL Western Conference championships. You've won a WHL championship. This year it looked like the Winterhawks were on the road to compete for sure for a Western Conference championship and potentially a WHL championship. So what type of players, or what are the characteristics of the type of player that you look for when you're scouting and evaluating talent that you think can come into Mike Johnson's program, learn, get better, and be part of that success that the Winterhawks have had?
Well, I mean, what Mike has established in 10 years is that our primary focus is on seeking out the players with high hockey sense, smart players, players that can read the game, a little less concerned with size, as hockey sense, skill for sure. Speed is great. The ability to compete. So those are the characteristics that, whether you're Jaden Perron or whether you're our last pick of the draft, we hope to stay true to those characteristics and all the players that we choose, and we think it gives them a chance to play for us.
Well, looking at your guys' draft this year, you had no first-round pick. You had no third-round pick. So you didn't have a ton of picks in the top 100. But I'm looking at your draft, and it's a very unique draft in the sense that you're one of the only teams that I've talked to that selected two goalies in this year's WHL Bantam draft. So what's the process of deciding, we have a limited amount of high picks. How are we going to identify the players that we want to take in the position that we're going to be able to take them?
Interesting year with the acquisition of Joel Hoffer. We gave up some draft assets for sure, and thought Joel was worthy of that. And I think he proved to be an elite goalie and playing in front of a very young team. So we thought that was very important, and feel good about that move in hindsight. Along with that, we made kind of in tandem the trade where Ryan Hughes, a very good and popular player in Portland, went to Saskatoon. Turned out to be a great player for Kamloops this year. We really liked Ryan, but we needed to get some trade assets back at the same time. So that gave us the 23rd overall pick, as it turns out this year. We got a player that, is worthy of being a first round player. From there, we wanted to achieve some balance in this year's draft. We thought, as everyone has acknowledged, it's a deep class of 2005. So we wanted to make sure that, we went after some defensemen in the first half of the draft. We were able to do that. And then the goalie situation, we were just going to see how the draft evolved. And as it turns out, two goalies that we're really high on, Donovan Bodner and Carson Musser from Minnesota, both were available. We'd had great looks at both of them. We felt really good, both of them being potential starting goalies down the road. So we wanted to give them a chance to develop and select them in this draft.
Mike, as you move forward through the summer and as we prepare for training camp in late August, early September, what's the process for these players to get them into the Portland organization and getting them to understand the culture and kind of what you're trying to build down there?
Yeah, great question, Zach. I don't think there's a perfect answer. Everyone's, we're going to do our best in the next week or two to reach out, to introduce ourselves, to start to walk through our program, what it's all about, the things that we're looking for. We'll support them being kind of homebound with a workout program that will make their transition to training camp in their 15-year-old year a little bit smoother. So we'll provide that if they don't have that. What we're finding in most of our conversations is and rightly so, at 14 years old, they've done just a limited amount of off-season workouts. So that's an area that we can begin to both give them some education on and get them going in the right direction, doing the right things. But for the most part, they deserve a little bit of time off. They're limited what they can do. It's not all bad to step out of the rink for a few weeks here. And then as we're able to lock down on training camp and that, provide them some schedules and just some certainty about where they're going. They're excited. They're a little bit anxious. What should they expect when training camp does open? That kind of information we're just trying to relay to them and their parents.